What's going on, America? You're the messenger without knowledge. Tonight, I'm going to do a quick broadcast for the United States because I feel that not enough of us in the country are saying anything. It's come to my attention, with also addressing commentary. Thank you, everyone. I want to thank every one of you for coming across the channel the past 3 months, but you can imagine what we're dealing with over here. Um, I'm going to start with comment number one. Since you clean restaurants for a living, I saw you the other day, blah 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 blah. Can you tell me and my family what's actually happening and how the public is actually dealing with the effects of COVID and Omicron and the corruption? Absolutely. Thank you, sister, for commenting at the desk at Third Eye Knowledge. I'll leave a link in the description where you can comment at my email address. Nobody is handling this as well as you think we are. Family members are dropping dead where I'm working at, from what I'm hearing. I could have heard wrong, but most likely not. Restaurants are forcing people to go to work when they're sick. Some restaurants are so strict that you can't go in without vaccinations. So there's a lot of disorganization, number one. Number two, every news and media and information platform, including social media, every one of them, including progressive, Republican, anyone that wants to think there's no exception, they are giving you false information. When you work for the Department of Public Health, number one, or you work with the public each and every day, they have to provide you with bits and pieces of information to keep you safe. And they can't give us much because so many of you keep blaming the federal government. That's one part of it. You're not blaming Johnson & Johnson, Pfizer, Moderna, and many other medical and clinical giants, multi-trillion dollar dynasties that have all the actual information. The CDC doesn't have much. They have to play the game. And if they don't, they die. Because when it comes to power, which we'll cover in a little bit, which is a little more, this is a little more important than excuse me. And I'm going to follow with this statement. It's as simple as calling your local hospital, going in to check on them, or just, go into the emergency room and just ask questions. Be your own research and developer. Get your information for your family. Start linking up. Start actually talking to people. Because what I'm going to speak on right now, comment number two, it's not just transmissible anymore by your breath. Absolutely not. There is a major possibility through silent explosive research on the Pentagon and the United States military, as well as the Department of Defense. This has been going on for many years. So it's not a conspiracy. This is what they do. There is a possibility that the command came from the top of the pyramid of power, because that's what power does to people, because there's only good and evil in this life, and they relayed a message, somebody heard that message or were threatened to hear that message, and here we are. And I'm going to say that because the numbers that we're reading in our industries across America, they're not adding up. More children than anything else are getting sick now. Younger people are dying now. Children are dying now. While everybody in the social media world, as well as the institutionalized news and information media, is dancing around like everything's okay, too many of you believe that. It's time to start uniting fronts, and it's time to start making sure that you are reading your heart chakra. If your fucking inner voice is saying, wait a minute, this is some bullshit, you should start hearing that. You should be listening to your doctors. You should be listening to your clinicians. Pay fucking attention to this video because it could possibly save your life. You're dealing with a system that has no eyes on them. Number three, they do whatever they want. Ladies and gentlemen, if I'm at the top of the pyramid of power and I know that nobody's paying attention to me, as well as my so-called federal government, which are my employees, and they're not following orders down there, you, me and you, America, the working class, we the people, the peasants, whatever you want to call us, and I know that you're not paying attention, you don't care, you don't participate in any of the games that I have arranged for my fucking society to obey me, I'm going to do what I want. Because number one, I'm in that position, and number two, that's power. Power does things to people, because this is humanity. There is only good and there is only evil. I want to make that very clear to CNN, the Young Turks, fucking every other platform that keeps talking about, well, if you were just more involved, or if the Democrats or the Republicans, it's way, way, way below that, way deeper than that. Because the Democrats and Republicans, ladies and gentlemen, may I add, as well as the Supreme Court, are only following orders. Because that's what they do. They disobey an order, they get shot, they get killed, they get murdered. Because they're not going to give that up, because that's what power does to people. That's the basis of the video. So many of you are bickering and arguing and blaming one another across social media. Fuck the mask, fuck the vaccination, fuck the booster. You need to go up to the top of the power chain, the ladder of power, if you really want to talk about getting this under control. Because they're the ones with the actual information. We don't have that. Your doctor don't have it. Your pediatricians don't have it. CVS does not fucking have it. Walgreens doesn't have it. Your hospitals don't have it. The fucking jails don't have it. Maybe Moderna has it. I want America to think on that. It's very important. Instead of arguing and bickering or going into somebody's restaurant and refusing to put on a mask because they're fulfilling agendas, because that's what power does to people, you should think twice about that. Think very carefully about that. Because you could be fulfilling an agenda and you don't even know, because humanity is corrupt. Comment number 2, you don't know anything. Well, I think I just covered that one, so let's bounce over to comment number 3. You don't have to be a college-educated person in philosophy or the universal perspective of blah, 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 blah. You don't have to get there yet. You don't have to get to the fucking 5th dimension yet or the 4th dimension yet. All you have to do is just take a look at your situation, your community, your children, their school, and pay a fucking attention. Too many of you are blaming something that's inevitable. I want to be careful with this. You can't blame one whole party when an entire society of a species is flawed. You can't. It's hypocritical and it's ignorant to our existence, if you will. But once us in this country pull away from the algorithm, pull away from the white master supremacist system, as well as many other factors to this, which we'll get to right now, which we're getting to now is power, you will start to see the traditional spiritual elements and the spiritual points of power that is unpreventable. Because when a nation like ours, which treats power, for example, like it's a red carpet event, and we've always done this, and I'm not saying not to praise and rise your leaders, to praise them to raise their levels of energy, of leadership, if they're a speaker, a person of positive influence, a person of God, a person of positive reinforcement, as well as bringing communities together, blah, 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 which most leaders should have. We can talk about actual democracy, number 1, but number 2, you could talk about fixing the human corruption, actually making an effort to fix human flaws and corruption on a massive scale. Because once the human being sees the leader, which you'll see God in that leader, you'll see God in that leader, you can talk about world peace. You can talk about ending corruption. You can talk about actually jumping a country ahead of its time in health, and being in the here and now, to be honest, with this nation. So that's the problem that America has with power, and what actually got us here to this point where we don't know what to do. We're scrambling to save lives and money and pay our bills because it's time to even think about fixing the situation. Right? It's time for us to take our fucking short, cry about our loss, and kick down the doors of the top of the ladder of power. You got to go over the federal government. Because I'm not saying that they're innocent in the federal government, because this is the answer comment number 3. That's who we need to go after. The people that are using eugenics and fucking biomedical terrorism, weaponizing everything at their disposal because we allowed them to go crazy with power. And if any of you disagree, please Google Johnson & Johnson. Please Google Rockefeller family. Please Google the 3rd generation TD Bank family, the 3rd generation Bank of America family, and every other big developer, contractor, owner of a major oil rig, owner of every weapon that ISIS has gotten in their hands over there. When we sold them the $2 billion in our weaponry, it wasn't stolen. You got to be a complete retard to believe that, pardon my language, but you have to be a complete imbecile to believe that. And you'll start to see the pieces come together. If you want to talk about changing the system and fighting the power, you got to think on a massive scale. Number 3 on power, and I'll let my country go on this. Power is family. You take, there's levels to that shit. There are secret societies to that shit. While you're talking about the deep state, they're not secret anymore also. I'll make that very clear. They're right in your fucking face. As well as murder. There's a lot of killing going on. There is a lot of sacrifices being made. There's a lot of people getting put in certain places to honor certain things that those people have wanted to get put in that place. There's a lot of bad shit going on. There's a lot of people getting put in places that shouldn't be, as well as a massive agenda to kill every other fucking culture but what is sitting up at the top of the ladder of power. Because I want to throw a bonus comment in here that I forgot to give a big shout out to Africa. Or if you were from Africa, have come across the desk of consciousness, this is a eugenics war on people. This is a genocidal process. This is something that the Third Reich came up with fucking years ago, and many other militaries that have wanted to be dictators and monarchies. I want to make that very clear. You can look this up as well. And I want to give big ups to that comment because this is a massive operation to do whatever they want to do up there to make more room for their family. Because if you also want to disagree with that, a lot of you are going to probably share the fuck out of this and bash me and diss me, but that's all right. You can deal with God when this is done. This is what people do. Again, they get to the culture, they get back to their root, they get to the inner being when it comes to evil as well. This is culture. This is what they fucking want to do. This is what they do. They're the same ones that came up with, they're the same ones that have kidnapped millions of homeless women, millions of homeless men, and started the pornography industry, the child sex trafficking industry, the prison industry. I want to put that out there too. They all do that up there. That's their thing. I want to make that clear too. I wish you all a great evening. This is something scary to you. Get over it. If this is something that made you cry, maybe you'll man up now. If this is something you disagree with and this is just some crazy conspiracist, then you can talk to God about that, because I don't even know what brought me to do this broadcast for my country. I wasn't even going to take the time out of my time to sleep for work to speak to this nation, because to me this is a fucking disgrace. My generation and my parents' generation was raised better than this shit. And hopefully this will inspire people to start uniting fronts, getting the communities involved, getting yourself actually learning self-defense, taking care of your people. What else do I want to cover for my nation? And get the fuck off of social media as fast as you can, because this is the biggest weapon at their disposal. And if you do not hear this video, I wish you all the best, because this is a life or death situation.